Hey everyone, it's Sammy from Push Square, and so a couple of weeks ago I actually went to Germany to play a bus simulator on the PlayStation 4 for a good few hours actually. Now I have to be upfront before I get into this video, the publisher did pay for me to travel over, they did book me a very nice hotel, so if you need to leave comments calling me a shill or completely disregard my opinion, then feel free to stop the video and go and do so that now. But yeah, if you're still around, I have some honest thoughts on this game, and I'm going to get into them in this video. So before I do, remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let's talk Bus Simulator. So there are simulator games for practically everything these days, so it's kind of surprising to me that Bus Simulator is kind of launching so late in the generation. Austrian developer Still Alive Studios has been checking tickets on the PC for a while now, but this year it's going to make a stop on the PlayStation 4. And yeah, like I said before at the top of this video, I think the publisher recognised that I'm a fan of Farming Simulator and Train Sim World, so it flew me over to Munich to spend several hours with the title and also to experience the local public transport firsthand, which I didn't do because I was scared to buy a ticket and I don't know any German, but anyway. So this is an interesting game because while it subscribes to much of the nuance of its forebears, it ultimately ends up feeling like a mixture of a management sim and at times honestly even an arcade game. While there are realistic and simplified settings, you still have to manually get your bus on the road, and so that involves toggling all kinds of controls from the cockpit, including like removing the parking brake, starting the ignition, enabling any lights, and operating the window wipers depending on the weather. So you play from a first person perspective, but you can also toggle to a view behind the rear of the bus, and there's actually also a third person element where you travel on foot as well. Amusingly, this behind the shoulder viewpoint comes into play when you, for example, have to retrieve someone's left behind luggage and return it to them. There are actually tons of obstacles that will hinder you from simply driving the bus, and it adds quite a lot of multitasking to the gameplay loop. For example, you'll need to check the tickets of any passengers either by manually stepping out of the driver's seat and physically asking people, or by looking into a mirror above the front window screen and interacting with folk that way. Occasionally there'll be a passenger who'll come on the bus with a noisy stereo and you'll basically have to tell them to turn the volume down. Or alternatively, there are people who will simply obstruct the bus's doors because they're stupid, I guess, so you'll need to ensure they alight the vehicle properly. This all adds variety to the simple act of driving the bus, which operates pretty much exactly as you'd expect it to. You can enable a speed limiter which will prevent you from picking up speeding fines, and you'll need to indicate at all the right times in order to ensure you're driving safely. Touching curbs or other vehicles will inflict penalties that will reduce your overall earnings for the day, while obviously driving into civilians is a big no-no and can seriously inhibit your cash flow. You kind of create your own routes from an open world map inspired by European countries such as Germany. So at the start of the game you'll have access to an urban area populated by large businesses and cafes, but the map does eventually open up, taking you to more rural areas as well as narrow corridor-like residential regions that will be obviously much more challenging to navigate. You design your own routes using a map screen, and as you level up certain stops you can add more routes through them, effectively building an empire. And this is where Bus Simulator becomes more of a management sim than a pure working simulation. As the owner of your own public transport empire, you'll eventually be able to hire new drivers and purchase additional vehicles which will run routes for you. Your staff earn a percentage of your best score for each route, so the game actually encourages you to play professionally so you can then maximise your earnings when you send your employees out to do the work for you. It's a really smart gameplay loop actually. I really thought that was clever, and it's designed to keep you behind the steering wheel even when you're playing as a tycoon. The game also has a great sense of humour, I have to admit. The CVs that you'll receive from potential new drivers are genuinely laugh out loud funny, and you'll overhear some stunning conversations between passengers as you drive the actual bus itself. So I eavesdropped on one elderly gentleman who was informing his startled friend that he'd just bought some new shampoo, while there was also a lady who pondered whether her swimsuit would still fit upon being invited to a nearby beach party. As you can imagine, catching fare dodgers is also extremely entertaining. So speaking of tickets and stuff, you have to actually process tickets for customers who don't already have one, which means punching in the exact criteria requested and issuing the right amount of change. As driving the bus itself isn't quite as involved as, say, the trains in Train Sim World, the developers done a really good job of adding random events to the experience that can occur when you're out on the road. For example, there may be a car blocking a bus stop, so you'll need to honk your horn to get it out of the way, or a disabled passenger who may require a ramp to alight. So you're in charge of all of this, and you're ranked depending on how you do. Obviously, your priority is to reach each stop on time, but driving recklessly over speed bumps, clipping curbs and running red lights will see your rating drop, and ultimately your financial situation sour. It remains to be seen how heavily you'll be punished for not abiding to the rules of the road, but as your overall objective is to build an empire here, I'm going to assume that you'll need significant reserves of cash to buy the best buses and recruit the top drivers. Of course, you can play online if you'd prefer real people to drive your routes for you. The game supports up to 4 players and you'll all exist within the same open world, contributing to the success of your own multiplayer public transport company. You can either play as another driver or you can ride shotgun with a friend, checking tickets and ensuring that everyone's journey is as comfortable as it can be. These modes are extremely popular in series such as Farming Simulator, so I can see it attracting a small but dedicated community here as well. My only major criticism of this game is that it feels like half of the development budget was spent on flying me over to try it. I'm exaggerating, of course, but it's definitely not a good looking game, even on the more powerful PS4 Pro, where the additional horsepower is being used to bump up the resolution and slightly improve the textures. The character models are ugly as sin, and while there is some personality in the open world, it looks extremely dated. I would have personally loved optional PlayStation VR support to have made the grade here, as it really would have added a lot to the experience, being able to manually check mirrors and the passengers behind me, but the performance just doesn't feel anywhere near smooth enough on a standard television screen for that to be a remotely realistic request. That said, there's definitely something moreish here with traditional mechanics like experience points and mini quests, giving the whole affair a more gamey feel than its contemporaries. It's definitely still a simulation title, but Still Alive Studios appears to have straddled the line between arcade and management as well, making for a compelling concoction that I personally can see myself spending a lot of time with. If you've ever been attracted to this genre in the past, then this may well be the entry point that you've been looking for. I have to say that I'm, if you'll pardon the pun, very much on board. But yeah, let me know what you think about Bus Simulator in the comment section below. Please call me a shill in the comment section, because like I said at the top of this video, they did pay for me to play this, but I actually quite enjoyed it, and I think this is an honest preview. So yeah, take it as you will. Remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and until next time, thank you so much for watching.